There comes a time in a man's life when he must consider the cost of diamonds. But why bother? These things lose value as soon as you walk out the shop, and every diamond haver is just one shower drain away from knocking a few thousand beans off their net worth. In an era of equality and double income households, isn't putting a diamond down payment on your future wife a bit outdated? Where they come from is hardly romantic, and they tell any mugger in close proximity that you've got money to blow on finger rocks. We all know this, and yet the diamond endures. It's kind of its whole thing. So seeing as we're stuck with diamonds, I thought, why don't I just make my own? Until recently, the only way to make a diamond was the long, expensive volcanic way. They start as carbon deposits, hundreds of miles beneath the Earth's crust, where they are subjected to enormous heat and pressure for millions of years before going all hard and crystally. They are forever glitter, tiny, shiny, and you can't get fucking rid of them. The diamonds that reach us would have been shot closer to the Earth's surface by ancient volcanic eruptions. Pretty cool, I guess. The diamond's staying power is an essential part of its symbolic potency. It is the story that has sold 1 million gems. But what makes a diamond so special? Well, that depends who you ask.
There is no such thing as a second-hand diamond. A diamond is a diamond, and it's forever. Could be 1 million years old.
You know, you're in the field of diamonds. You must think there's something quite special about them.
No, I don't think so.
No?
No. It's as boring as any other element, like silicon or... And the silicon is more useful to us.
So if you want to make a diamond today, two of the best places you could go are either Mumbai or several centres in China where the industry is at its most profitable. The closest place I could find where I can make one myself is in Cardiff, which, if you didn't know, is in Wales, which is part of the UK. Here at the University of Cardiff's Diamond Foundry, the researchers patiently explained all this to me, a guy who stopped studying chemistry before he lost his virginity.
We'll start with a silicon wafer like this, and then we'll use something like that. It's a diamond solution.
So what's in the solution that makes it a diamond solution?
Diamonds.
So silicon croutons in the diamond soup, diamond attracted to the silicon discs,
yeah.
And then you've got quite a number of diamond particles on the disc.
Yeah, and it's a huge number.
CVD actually reduces the pressure on these diamond-coated communion wafers. This is the reactor chamber, where the diamond seeds are exposed to low atmospheric conditions, high temperatures, and a tightly controlled amount of gases that are carefully added into the chamber. How do they grow? Like, obviously, it's not making more carbon atoms to connect.
No, there is a methane in there.
There's methane.
So basically, we'll crack the methane, take the carbon out, and it will get attached to the surface of that atom, and it will grow atom by atom.
It's basically chemical space Lego. The cost of CVD has been rapidly declining since 2016, meaning this process is getting progressively easier and more cost-effective than digging them out of the ground. They can come out in different colours, shapes and sizes, and sometimes they don't even really look like diamonds at all. But to make a diamond big and shiny enough to go on your finger takes about a month. So we'll have to leave these ones cooking for a little while longer. For most of human history, diamonds were rare. They could only be found in India or in the possession of India's European plunderers, like this priceless 106-carat Koh-i-Noor diamond, which spent centuries passing between conquering rulers before ending up in this dead lady's magic hat. Big Rip, Big Liz. Until relatively recently then, the only way to get your mitts on a diamond was by military conquest or by being married to the person doing the conquesting. That was until the 1800s, when several dozen new diamond holes were discovered in South Africa and were subsequently emptied by one company, the De Beers Diamond Consortium. De Beers was founded by Cecil Rhodes, an intrepid entrepreneur and perhaps England's greatest arsehole. An 18-year-old Rhodes arrived in South Africa as a water pump salesman in 1871, hoping to serve the jobbing miners who had traversed all of Africa in order to sift through the dirt. Rhodes quickly pivoted from pumping the earth to plundering it, starting his own mining operation and acquiring or sabotaging every other company on the continent. At the height of his career, Rhodes controlled 90% of the world's diamonds, as well as his own standing army, which he used to take over this bit of Africa, name it after himself, and mine more diamonds. While the people actually finding those diamonds were paid little and separated from their families as they laboured in work camps. The entire system of South African apartheid can trace its roots back to Rhodes's tenure as the Prime Minister of the colony that preceded the apartheid state. Anyway, Rhodes croaked in 1902, likely died a virgin, having never found anyone who wanted to marry the devil. You probably already know that the ritual of getting your knee dirty and begging your girl to never leave you in exchange for a rare finger gem was the invention of mid-century American advertising. Through radio, print and television, De Beers and Philadelphia advertising firm N.W. Ayer conducted the greatest psyop in American history, convincing the public that diamond rings were the standard gift for a marriage proposal and that you should spend 2 months' salary on it.
I love this man.
Post-war and pre-pill, marriage and social stability were the order of the day. So one way to prove that you weren't gonna hit it and quit it was to fork over a bunch of cash. But that's a little distasteful, isn't it? A bit on the nose. So why not, instead, a diamond? In 1939, only 10% of engagements began with a diamond. By 1990, 80% did.
The diamond engagement ring. How else could 2 months' salary last forever?
The real genius of the De Beers campaign, though, was repeating this trick every time a new country entered a similar period of prosperity. In the late 1950s, Japan started what would later be described as their economic miracle. General Douglas MacArthur ran Japan until 1952, clearing up the rubble and establishing a generous trade relationship with the US. American culture followed American products, so concepts like convenience stores and American cheese were well received by the Japanese. But only around 6% of Japanese women were rocking a diamond engagement ring. Something had to be done about all those naked fingers, so De Beers started pitching the diamond engagement ring to a whole new market. This time, though, they suggested that 3 months' salary was a more appropriate sum to blow on a wedding rock, and the Japanese went for it. By 1984, over 70% of Japanese marriages started off sparkly. In my journey to understand all this, I ended up getting lost in the many malls of Yokohama, a port city swallowed by Tokyo's consuming sprawl and elevated by American trade. Here, the glory days of Japan are still swinging. The food courts go on forever, the arcades are packed. But no one's buying diamonds, not anymore. In the 1990s, Japan's economic bullet train slowed to the crawl of a Nissan Cube. And over the next 10 years, overall diamond demand fell by more than half, revealing that the sparkly engagement gift was just a generational trend, a fad for the America-obsessed boom years. Right, this video has gone wildly over budget, time to pay some bills. Right, I'm interrupting this video to tell you about some wild shit that's been going on. Data breaches are rising as new tech is helping scammers get more sophisticated. And what are you going to do about it? I reckon you got two options. You can either disconnect, live in the woods, write your manifesto and letterbomb your former service providers, or you can stay safely and chronically online with peace of mind thanks to Incogni. Incogni reaches out to data brokers on your behalf and requests your personal data to be removed. Simply create an account and tell Incogni whose personal data they will be eliminating. Afterwards, just kick back and let them do the work so you can get back to whatever it is you do all day anyway. Worried about a stalker or their ability to commit blunt force trauma on your soft, supple body? Well, you should be, because anyone can buy your data. Haunted by robocalls or cybercrime attempts? That's probably because your details are already being sold. This isn't a conspiracy. Major data brokers have already been caught selling personal data to scammers. Sadly, the voices in your head are probably unrelated, but even they would approve of Incogni. Incogni! Let Incogni sort them out. They'll even deal with any objections these data brokers have and keep you updated on their progress. Use Incogni and reclaim your privacy in the link below. The first 100 people to use code Ordinary Things will get 60% off. Open it in your tab right now and come back to it once you've finished watching this video. Today, the once dominant De Beers diamond monopoly has lost its luster. A succession of gruesome and interconnected African civil wars broke out in many of the countries where De Beers was doing their digging. Rebels and military groups took over the mines, exchanging rough diamonds for guns and such, leading many consumers to feel that their symbol of pure innocent love shouldn't directly fund the organised dismemberment campaigns of brutal African warlords. Easier said than done. Diamonds have always been deliciously easy to smuggle. When a mouthful can net you enough fast cash to last a lifetime, what's stopping you from filling your cheeks and sprinting across the nearest border? So it's always been exceptionally difficult to track the origin of any individual diamond. De Beers and the rest of the diamond industry promised to regulate themselves through the Kimberley process. Over 99% of the world's natural diamonds are now covered by the Kimberley process, a rigorous and complex series of checks that remove conflict diamonds from the global supply chain. Each shipment of rough diamonds must now be transported in a tamper-resistant container along with an official Kimberley process certificate that certifies they are conflict-free. Airtight, you might think. Has the Kimberley process made blood diamonds a thing of the past? Well, the long answer is complicated, and the short answer is no, not really. Once you get a rough diamond out of the ground or out of your reactor, they move on to their next destination. Diamond trading cities like Antwerp, Tel Aviv, and Dubai, where they are processed and readied for diamond cutting centers like Shenzhen and Surat. Natural or lab-grown, diamonds accumulate more air miles than an albatross before they end up on your finger. The whole diamond jewelry market is worth about $340 billion annually, and the process of turning a dull, dirty rock into a shiny gem is the profit center. I bought these 6 rough, natural diamonds for just over $100, and they arrived in this little baggie straight from Surat. But rough diamonds don't actually have any practical use, they aren't that shiny, and you can't even smoke them. Propose with a rough diamond, and you're likely to be left with nothing but a dirty knee and a ring-mounted river rock. As diamonds go from rough to ring-ready, their approximate value nearly doubles. It is a complex and absurdly expensive process that turns your uncut gem into something shiny enough to strap on. It's this process that actually makes a diamond diamond-shaped. But it's in these trading cities, where they are prepared for their cut and polish, where their origins become a lot harder to trace. Whether they are from India, Botswana, the Central African Republic, or Russia, natural diamonds are all mixed together here, sorted by size and quality. So if you're looking to smuggle some uncut gems, it's in these cities where you have the opportunity to slip them back into the legitimate pipeline. When the Soviet Union collapsed, De Beers lost its control over Russia's diamonds, and there was a whole bunch of them buried in Siberia. Ever since, the De Beers monopoly has been in a state of unrelenting decline, chipped away as new mines opened and old mines excused themselves from the control of the cartel. In a more competitive market, the De Beers method of keeping diamond prices high by controlling the market supply no longer worked, just as a new diamond giant was in the ascendancy. Alrosa alone is responsible for 90% of Russia's diamond mining capacity, which is now the single largest diamond-producing country on Earth. They are the biggest Siberian ditch digger since Stalin, except instead of digging lots of human-sized holes, they are digging a few quite big ones. At its operational peak, the Mir diamond mine in Siberia produced 10 million carats of diamonds every year. A hole so enormous that its airflow can destabilize helicopters flying in its airspace. The company reported sales of $4.2 billion in 2021, with a net profit of just under $1 billion. But like any Russian company that actually makes any money, the Kremlin is taking their majority chunk. Both the Russian Federation and the local Republic of Yakutia each own a third of Alrosa's shares. They were, therefore, entitled to about $600 million of Alrosa's 2021 profits. In Putin's own words, this gives serious revenues to the federal and regional budget. And with the recent war-fueling changes to its tax code, the Kremlin will be entitling themselves to a little bit more. Up until very recently, Alrosa's CEO was Sergei Sergeyevich Ivanov, who was sanctioned near the beginning of the Ukraine war, along with the rest of Russia's super yacht shitheels. At the same time, Alrosa ceased to publish reports about their sales and operations in a desperate attempt to conceal the origin of their gems once they are mixed in the international sorting process. The Ukrainian conflict has also indirectly railroaded the Kimberley process. It's run by 59 participants, representing 82 countries, who each take turns to chair the process annually. In 2021, the chair was the Russian Federation. So when the war in Ukraine started the following year, many participants began to question the Kimberley process's reliability. Even if you know that your diamond is from Africa, there's still a good chance that the Russian state is taking their cut from your uncut gems. Alrosa has taken over Cecil Rhodes' old stomping grounds, owning a 70% share in Zimbabwe's state-run diamond miner ZCDC. While over in the diamond-rich and everything else poor Central African Republic, the Wagner Group has all but taken over. Yes, the Wagner Group. You probably know them from their exploits in Ukraine, or for their not quite a coup of Moscow recently, or for their founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin. Seen here recruiting Russia's finest rapists to serve as meat shields in the Wagner Group's Ukraine campaign.
Это мародерка, включая сексуальные контакты с местными женщинами.
Before he became the butcher of Bakhmut and Putin's most inconvenient ally, he was bowling up borscht at the Kremlin. He first served as Putin's pastry chef and rose up the ranks to become the Kremlin's chief caterer. Putin was recently forced to admit paying Prigozhin's catering company over 80 billion rubles in state contracts. So either he's serving up the best bellinis this side of Novosibirsk, or he's just getting his bonus for doing the Kremlin's neo-colonial wet work.
Все внутрь! Все в церковь! Я их задержу! Стойте! Не делайте этого, пожалуйста!
This is Tourist, a 2021 feature film produced by the Wagner Group, made specifically for the Central African Republic. Shown in football stadiums of the failing state in order to build support for the Russian mercenary group. And it's not just movies. Merchandise, children's cartoons, and vodka have been handed out in the country as part of a widespread propaganda campaign to build support for the Wagner Group. And it's working. This all started in 2013 when rebels started an armed conflict to overthrow the barely functional government. The embattled president of the Central African Republic hired the Wagner Group to slaughter the rebels and keep his own limbs unmacheted. The mercenaries now serve as his personal security and the government's go-to guns for hire. In return, they have granted themselves extraction rights to the country's gold mines and diamond trade, setting up shell companies like Midas Resources to supplant local operations and take the profits for themselves. Prigozhin's cash-paid killers are making hundreds of millions of dollars throughout Africa in similar fashion. But their work in the CAR is by far their most profitable enterprise. In 2021, the mercenaries led a violent campaign to suppress rebel activity in the aftermath of the presidential election. The UN has also observed the group's involvement in mass summary executions, rape, and torture to scare locals away from their lucrative mineral deposits. Despite all of this, the Kimberley process does not recognize Wagner-handled diamonds or war-funding Siberian diamonds as conflict diamonds. Decision-making between all the participant nations is done on a consensus basis, so no action is taken unless all the participants agree. Besides Russia, KP membership includes many other countries who are more likely to be charitable towards Russian stones, not just for financial reasons, but political ones too. With this being the case, if you're buying new and natural, you'll be hard-pressed to prove your diamonds don't come pre-drenched. If you're honest with yourself, you probably already knew that diamonds were dodgy before you clicked on this video. And yet, demand for them in the USA remains stable. You see, diamonds have always really primarily been an American obsession. The USA constitutes approximately 50% of global diamond jewelry demand. Women still expect that rock, and they have strong preferences on size and shape. The average spend on an engagement ring in the US is bang on $6,000, which is just a little less than the average monthly wage. Over in the UK, we're a little more stingy, looking at an average spend of £2,419. The Natural Diamond Council is obviously still doing a great job in its largest market. A multi-company body that promotes natural diamonds today by hanging them off Hollywood's sexiest starlets.
Never underestimate the power of a woman. They say people, like natural diamonds, form over time. When the time is right, you too will continue a legacy.
This contrasts heavily with how the industry sells their own lab-grown gems. De Beers has its own DIY diamond subsidiary called Lightbox. They don't want to be blockbustered out of existence, so they aren't ignoring market trends. But they purposely advertise lab-grown with a lot less glamour. They are shown as everyday diamonds, the kind you might lose behind your sofa and forget about. The industry as a whole is terrified by the growth of lab-grown diamonds, while, they're trying to act all cool about it. Man-made gems are eroding the natural diamonds market share, along with their mystical prestige. Natural and lab-grown diamonds are pretty much chemically identical, with the only caveat being that natural diamonds will usually contain slightly more nitrogen. But the only way you or anyone looking at your ring piece will be able to tell the difference is with some highly specialized equipment that would have finally burst the budget of this video. With lab diamonds costing significantly less than their natural counterparts, carat for carat, if you want more diamond for your money, lab-grown is the obvious choice. Now that is a diamond. After spending all this time looking into diamonds, I got to admit, I kind of get their appeal. You can lose yourself in them. And watching someone you love walking around wearing a pair you bought them, well, that is something. Still, it's all subjective. What you're buying with a diamond is still just a story. Once upon a time, this ring rock got cooked by the Earth's core or by a chemist in Cardiff. Most people don't think about what happens between then and when it's in your earlobe, but maybe they should. Really though, only one story matters: yours. A diamond ring isn't just a rock. It's a prop in a cherished memory that you write yourselves. A ritual of profound personal proportions that you can share for all of your pitifully short human lives. So when a 31st century grave robber pries open your coffin and snatches that rock from your skeletal finger, they'll know that once upon a time, you were loved.